Hi everyone, it's Kathleen again here for my Friday video blog series, TGIF. I am so psyched that it's Friday. I have got my cup of yogi tea, which I love to start my Fridays with. I love how they have these little quotes on them that are inspirational. This one says, let's see, it says, "Love is where compassion prevails and kindness rules." Thought for the day. Thank you, yogi tea. Okay, this Friday I wanted to talk about workflows. This is something that I think is a real pain point for most people practicing inbound marketing. And I actually did a training on this for a client the other day and really enjoyed the discussion because this gets to the heart of what I think brings marketing and sales together. And this is something that we talk about a lot here at Quintain, how to align marketing and sales better. When it comes to inbound marketing, I think so many of us focus on just getting leads. How are we going to get more leads? We got to get more leads in the funnel, and we got to get visitors because visitors then turn into leads. And as marketers, we tend to sort of say, check, I got a whole bunch of leads, I did my job. Last week in my blog, I actually talked about lead scoring, and I think that gets to this point as well because it's not just about getting leads. Not every lead is a good lead, and one solution to that is to really have a good lead scoring formula that'll help you distinguish the good from the bad. But the other solution is that somebody might not start out as a really hot sales prospect, but they could still be a good lead. So how do you take that person who maybe isn't ready to buy and nurture them down the buyer's journey or down the sales funnel to the point where they really become a good sales qualified lead? That's where lead nurturing really comes into the mix. So let's talk about it a little bit. How do you put together a lead nurturing sequence? What makes a good sequence? How often should you send emails? These are all the types of questions that I get from people. What I recommend is that you start with a very simple top of the funnel lead nurturing sequence. So when we talk about lead nurturing, it's very important to do it in the context of the buyer's journey. Meaning someone typically starts out as a visitor to your site, they convert on something, so they become a lead. That's your first indication of who they are and some initial indication of what they're interested in. And from there, then you can begin to nurture. So a great starting point for any company that hasn't done lead nurturing in the past is to create a sequence that is aimed at taking a lead and turning them into a marketing qualified lead. Later down the buyer's journey, you could be focusing on going from a marketing qualified lead to a sales qualified lead, or a sales qualified lead to a customer, etc. But the best place to begin is really trying to take that lead and turn them into a marketing qualified lead. So how do we do this? Again, we're talking about starting at the top of the funnel. And so I like to suggest that companies begin with one workflow at the top of the funnel. And usually what that would entail is, obviously there's a trigger. The trigger typically is the first time someone converts on an offer. And when they do that, you can then send them a follow-up email. Now, before you build your workflow, the key is to determine what the goal is. So in this case, the goal is to turn them into a marketing qualified lead. Well, how are we going to measure if they are? Usually what I would recommend is that you identify a particular offer that you want to have them convert on that would represent them moving to that marketing qualified stage. So a really easy example of this is someone scheduling a demo, maybe of your software product, requesting a trial, that kind of thing. Typically when someone does that, that's a good lead, and you can call them marketing qualified. So if our goal is to get someone to schedule a demo, how are we going to get them there? So let's say they've converted on something on your site. Maybe they've registered to attend a webinar, or they've downloaded an ebook or a white paper, what have you. Whatever that first conversion is, the first thing you want to do in your workflow is follow up with emails that are designed to build trust, okay? Because that is the beginning of your relationship. Building trust is not about selling. So this is a big mistake a lot of companies make, is that they put together workflows and they immediately jump to, hey, I saw that you registered for our webinar. How about we get on the phone and we talk about scheduling a demo? At that point, somebody's not ready to engage in that sales conversation. They just dipped their toe in your waters. And so why would you then say, why don't you dive in off the diving board? I have dipped my toe in and now it's about putting my leg in. And after I put my leg in, I'll put my other leg in, and then I might slip in up to my waist in the pool. That's really what this is about. So the trust building email shouldn't contain any offers. It shouldn't contain any sales pitches. It shouldn't be about you. It should be about your visitor. So a great trust building email would be an email in which you send that lead a link to some blogs that you think might be helpful, that might provide additional information on whatever they first converted on. The goal with the trust building email is simply to get them to open the email. That's really all it's about. You're trying to establish that, hey, you've opened my email and now you can see I'm not going to spam you. I'm not coming after you and trying to sell you anything. If you can successfully accomplish that, then you will have built a small amount of trust. And then if we go back to our pool analogy, they may be willing to do a little bit more than put their toe in. Now they might be willing to put their leg in or slide in a little bit further. So you could do one trust building email or two, that's fine. Once you've gotten past that trust building stage and they've learned that it's worth it for them to open your email, then you would send an email, which is what I would classify as an additional download email. So this sort of second stage in the workflow is where you introduce another offer to them, but it's not your demo offer. This is just a little introductory, helpful offer. So maybe it's, you registered for our webinar. Here's a toolkit for how to implement XYZ, whatever it was they were learning about in the webinar. Or here's an ebook, something that relates back to the topic that they first converted on. It has to be related, that's really important. And that is a soft offer, that they feel like they can fill out the form and get this thing, whatever it is you're offering them, and you're not immediately going to pick up the phone and call them. That's important. So the first type of email is all about building trust and getting them to open the email. The second type of email assumes that now they're comfortable, they'll open your email. This gets them used to filling out forms. It's all about like, hey, I'm just sending this to you to help you, to give you more information. Fill out this form, you'll get the thing. And again, we're building more trust, but this time we're building trust with form conversions. So once they have converted on that, then, and you can, again, send one or two of those additional download emails, that's fine. Then the third stage in the workflow is when you actually make your real offer. So this is where you would say, I've sent you these blogs that were helpful, I sent you the ebook or the additional download and you converted on it. Now I'd like to offer you a demo of our product. That's the real sales offer. That's where you begin to tie it back to you. At that point, you are really looking for them to convert and become a marketing qualified lead. Now you can do one or two of these offer emails. I wouldn't do more than two because at that point it becomes annoying. If they don't convert on those offers, which is really your goal for the workflow, then the last stage in your workflow should be what's called a breakup email. And I always love this term because, when you were dating and single, the worst thing in the world was to be broken up with by email. Or now I guess it's text. It shows my age. I'm kind of old and people did it by email back then. But the breakup email is really about saying, okay, I've sent you all this stuff. You haven't opted to convert on my demo. I'm just sending this last email to say, I'd love to get this scheduled, and if you are not interested, I will stop emailing you after this. The key, this is very important, so stop and listen. The key is that you can only send one breakup email. If you send it more than once, it's really meaningless, because if you say, I'm going to send this, and then I'm going to stop emailing you, and then you continue to email, you've kind of broken your promise. So start by sending the trust building email or emails, follow with an additional download email or emails, then follow with your actual offer, and then follow with a breakup. And if you do that series, you have the makings of a great workflow. Timing wise, this is the question I always get: how far should we space it out? I would say a minimum of 3 or 4 days is good, because that means that somebody will never get more than one email a week, or sorry, more than 2 emails a week. And the likelihood is that more often than not, they'll just get one. That's kind of a nice cadence. It's not a lot of pressure. So start with that, 3 or 4 days in between, see what your results are and see how it goes. I'd love to know if you put this practice into place. If you'd like to see some examples of these types of emails, please feel free to reach out to me. You can always find me on Twitter at WorkMommyWork, or leave a note in the comments to this blog and I'll reach out to you and send you those examples. But if you do put together a workflow, please comment back and let me know how successful it was. Best of luck, TGIF, and I will see you next Friday. Hope you have a great weekend.